Welcome back to the Joy Fueled Resilient Woman podcast. I'm Dr. Phyllis, your coach, and we are still in the holiday season, sis. And now we're starting to look toward 2025. And my question for you is, what are you looking forward to in the new year? What change are you praying for, hoping for, desiring? One of the things that I wanted to share with you is under the topic of define disruption, moving from autopilot to presence. So that's the topic of this episode 67 is define disruption, moving from autopilot to presence. I just felt I needed to say it 2 times because I really feel that this is the core of my passion, at the core of my coaching, at the core of my own personal transformational journey, and how I want to serve you even more in the new year, in helping you go from autopilot living and mindset to presence. And at the root of all of this, as I've shared my story with you, is going from a life of functional overwhelm, which is what I call living on autopilot, to joy fueled resilience, which the 4 pillars to me of living life fueled by joy. And that means centered in God through his son, Jesus Christ, allowing God to be our GPS. That is what joy fueled resilience really is. And in my own story, for so many years, I equated resilience with doing and striving and fixing and probably yes, I won't even say probably. Yes, being the martyr, taking on everything, burden bearer, because I thought that's what resilience meant at the expense of true joy. I thought that's what joy was the doing, to the point that I stopped really being an active participant, present in life, until God had to issue me his own form of reprimand and yank me off of the treadmill that my life had become, the autopilot. And to the point that I had so much on my plate of stuff that I had no real, authentic, pure, sincere time, really true, deep time for him to really connect with me and for me to connect with him to make sure that I was continuing to keep him at my GPS instead of me taking over, taking the keys and directing everything in my life and trying to direct everybody else in life and direct every activity and try to be in control, because really behind the scenes, I was out of control. That's what functional overwhelm is. It's when you outwardly, and maybe also in, not even maybe, in your own mind, just like it was in my own mind, that I was doing all these things. So I'm doing it. I'm resilient. Bad things happen. I just absorb them and I just keep pushing ahead. I'm like, those of you who know me know I love football. I love football. And it's like that running back who is given the ball. It's like, give me the ball, or the receiver, throw it to me. I got it. And you just keep running. But especially the running back, because the running back is handed the ball and they're determined they're going to make it to the end zone and they just push on through. They're going to maybe drag some other players with them. They're going to take some hits, but they're going to keep pushing ahead and they absorb the blows and they just get up and keep moving. And that's how I had started living my life for years. Still outwardly achieving, getting promotions, being lauded for being such a go-getter and doing all these things. And I've even had people telling me, oh, you're resilient, which for some people gave them an excuse to do anything they wanted because they figured I would just suck it up and keep moving. So since I deal with it, they could do whatever, to the point that it just didn't work anymore. And that's what functional overwhelm is. You still can look like you're successful on the outside, yet inside you're not growing. Everyone else is prospering around you, but you're not growing, to the point that your plate gets so full so that you have no capacity for growth and joy and rest, that plate overflowing can then turn into regret, resentment, burnout, fatigue, operating on fumes, and you feel stuck. It starts playing out in your spirit where you feel disconnected. You feel like you're not tapped into your purpose. You don't feel like you have meaning. And what makes it worse is because on one level, here you are, you have all this training, you're this successful professional person, you're a successful parent, a successful volunteer. But yet, as I said, behind scenes, you are withering up. And that's how you can feel stuck. That's functional overwhelm. And it also came to mind because God will give you disruption. As I mentioned, that's what he had to do for me, because he kept trying to give me signs. It wasn't just for a couple years. He had been giving me signs. If it wasn't my diagnosis of scleroderma, which is an autoimmune disease where the body develops antibodies similar. It's in the family of rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, and the body develops antibodies to its own tissue. So you get all this inflammation. And that was back in 2005. In pure Phyllis fashion, of course, I diagnosed myself, right? Um, that's another story. And then had to go through intravenous chemotherapy. They use the same medications to help fight those antibiotics. Still working, keep pushing ahead, right? When I would go to have my chemo every month, they put an IV line in, and I would do it on, my flex time for work. So, but because I was so determined, I'd have my pager and my phone right there. So if people needed me, I'd have my IV in one arm, them giving me the medication and I in the fluids they had to give. And I would pray that I would get in a room next to the window so that I'd have cell reception so I could answer calls about my patients. And then, if I hadn't asked my mom to pick up the kids for me because my husband worked at a distance, then I would Zoom out of clinic and go pick up the kids and get them to their school activities, get them to gymnastics, and start it all over again. And as I dealt with complications of being on the chemotherapy, including premature menopause and other things that go along with it, I just kept rolling with the punches. But I truly feel that some of that autoimmune disease, it came from me being so stressed out and living on autopilot, just running, 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 and keeping things pent up inside that my own body started to attack itself. Now, praise be to God that I've been doing pretty well, other than, some things I have. Um, Otherwise, I'm doing pretty good with my scleroderma. I still have to take medication every day, still have to routinely go to my doctors to see how I'm doing. Yes, the doctor has to take care of the doctor. That's exactly right. We're human beings. We got to take care of ourselves. So, any doctors out there, make sure you take care of yourself. We're human beings. We're not on some pedestal. Um, but I still have to take care of myself. I have to be careful so that I don't get sick because when you're on immunosuppressive medications, it's easy to get sick. And as I mentioned, I'm a caregiver for a family member. So I've I do understand how you doing, sis. There's a lot going on. And I know you're probably laughing. I know you're laughing about or rolling your eyes at, are you kidding me, Dr. Phyllis? You're getting chemotherapy and you're worried about being where you can get cell reception and but now you do the same thing. We just keep rolling. And it was only until years later as my kids got older, I had to let them know what was going on because I didn't want to tell them back then. I didn't want But I think we do a disservice to our kids. It's not saying we should be just, you know, gloom and doom, but I think that we do a disservice by not sharing our humanity with our kids so that they understand what we're going through. And I think all of our kids, but I think especially for our daughters or our nieces or our goddaughters, whoever looks up to us, when we don't share our humanity, I think it gives them a false sense of what also it means to be resilient. So we're just basically creating perpetuation of this narrative. And I'm really calling you, sis, for your own wellness to stop the cycle of the autopilot mindset, of the functional overwhelm that is wrongly, and I'll say it, wrongly misunderstood, misunder, represented as resilience. Living on autopilot, not being present, not really focusing on priorities or your purpose, not tapping into your joy, this martyr mindset, that's functional overwhelm. True resilience is allowing yourself the space to create joy, personal growth, because that is what's going to allow you to be truly resilient and still continue to shine your light while you are navigating what's on your plate. That is what joy fueled resilience is. And that's what separates it from living a life on autopilot under functional overwhelm. And presence is so important to that because I remember when I was going through and again, it's a daily thing, sis. Let me first tell you, we daily have to keep ourselves along the path of joy fueled resilience because just like God threw me a disruption after he kept trying to get my attention through, I told you about the scleroderma, but I kept pushing through. Um, Life hit the fan in 2020 for many of us. Again, I was no different, but he had actually started trying to get my attention on some things and disrupt my pattern, of life. Even in 2019 again, I didn't listen. I kind of got an inkling that some alarms were going off, but I just kept pushing through to the point that in 2020, he's like, look, enough is enough. Phyllis, you are on a collision course and I love you so much. I'm not having it. So he had life hit the fan. It hit the wall. It hit splat. And I hit a point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. I could not run and where stress eating wasn't going to do it. Usually what I would do when I would hit a disruption, and I call them divine disruption because God wants our attention, and that can come in the form of something at work, something with our family, our kids, a loss of a loved one, um, anything, something that rings the bell and makes you have to stop is a divine disruption because God needs us to change the pattern. He needs us to change our trajectory. And so in 2020, when he did that, I couldn't ignore it. And I had to do the work to reset my brain and get myself going. And that's why I am so passionate about making sure that I pour into you and I am here for you because I don't want you to have to go through everything I had to go through to get the idea, to get to this point. To get to the point that there was a day that I was out in the backyard after life had hit the fan and he yanked me off of the treadmill, as I call it, that I was in the backyard and the wind was blowing. And I remember my eyes were closed. I was just in the backyard. The air felt so crisp. The wind was blowing. It hit me in the face. And it was so nice and cool, crisp. And I remembered thinking, wow, how long has it been since I have just enjoyed standing in the backyard, not worrying about what email ping is going to come up, not worrying about what fire I've got to run after, and thinking, this is nice. It's nice to be off of the treadmill. It's nice to not be living on autopilot and have regained intention and meaning and joy. And I felt the presence. And I, at that moment, made the decision. I wasn't going back. I wanted to live life with presence. I wanted to be in the moment. I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to um, be intentional about what I did and who I was around. And I wanted to be present for my husband, present for my kids, my other family members, and enjoy life. And I wanted to continue to grow. I wanted to tap back into what my passions were in life, God's calling for me in life. And that was a turning point. And I wanted to stop being the parent at all the activities who's taking all the videos and like, oh, worried so much about doing the video of everything, recording everything. You're not in the moment. Um, but I want you, sis, to have that same joy. It's not a luxury, it is a necessity. And I would have thought in 2020 over into 2021, early 2021, okay, got the message, Lord. Okay, you gave me your divine disruption. I got it. I'm on my road. I am here in joy fueled resilience. Great. And that's when I also created my coaching program because God told me, Phyllis, I need you to speak to my other women that I have created. And so I was like, cool. And then in 2021, my mom quickly became ill and passed. But I'm going to tell you something. It's been rough, yet there is no way that I would be here talking to you and managing all the things I'm managing, like you on my plate, if the old Phyllis, the previous season, the previous version of Phyllis, the autopilot, the functional overwhelm Phyllis was trying to manage it. It is such a gift. It was painful transformation, yet so worth it to be at a point where I have joy in the midst of everything. It's being given a new lens, the lens that you gain when you are living as a joy fueled, resilient, true resilient woman, says, is so worth the investment of emotional and spiritual and physical work to get where you are present and you are intentional and you give yourself permission so that you can live in God's purpose with priority. It is such a blessing. So I want you, as you are looking at the end of 2024, like me, I know you've got your new planner. We get our new planners, or we're looking for the right system to start the next year. Maybe you're looking at, okay, this is the year I'm going to get more physically well. You're looking at what exercise program, what nutritional program. Maybe you're setting New Year's resolutions. I know it's been a lot going on in 2024, so it's a little crazy. I understand. But I want you, as you are looking back over 2024 and looking toward 2025, I want you to know hope still exists, joy still exists, potential still exists, purpose still exists. And I want you to think about making the commitment for 2025 to stop living on autopilot, stop living under functional overwhelm, and move to a life fueled by joy, with presence, permission, priority, and purpose. And I am here for you. I'm on all major platforms, social media, and I would love to hear from you. And I would love to continue to work with you in the new year so that you can live your best life. So I see you. I'm praying for you. I'm thinking of you. Let's plan for a great year. And I'll see you next week on the Joy Fueled Resilient Woman podcast. Take care. Bye now.